So I had a student ask me about demand and quantity demanded, and this is a common question. And I think the confusion comes within the fact that students don't always look particularly at the wording here. A shift in demand is different than a change in quantity demanded. They're two different concepts. When we talk about a shift in demand, we're talking about the line moving to the left or to the right. Whereas a change in quantity demanded is a movement along the curve up and down. So when we put our D1 demand curve up and we look at what quantity demanded means, essentially what we're saying is if the price was at $300 and the quantity demand was at 310, what happens when price changes? Well, if the price of the good falls, the law of demand says that as prices go down, and this is exactly what we see, as price goes down, what that tells us then is that the quantity demanded will increase. And we all know how that works. If you look at sales, why do companies put stuff on sale? To get it off the shelves. Well, why do we buy it when it's on sale? Because it's cheaper than it was. And so this is one of those things we see. At the same time, if prices were to increase, then the quantity demanded for a good would go down. And that's one of the things we see all the time is this new products start off with these really high prices and they don't buy a whole lot. As they lower the price, more and more people buy them. So a change in quantity demanded is reflected in a movement along the curve, and it is only caused by a change in price. That's not the case with shifting in demand, though. Demand represents the curve itself. What we know about the curve is that on that curve, each individual person has a different utility, a different view of when they're going to be satisfied. So we have all these different points. Now, shifts in demand have nothing to do with the price of the good itself, and I mean the price of this good. So let's look at how this works. So what can cause demand to increase? One of the single easiest factors to look at is income. When incomes increase, when the income of consumers goes up, what do? We're able to buy more products. Are we buying new and different products? Sometimes. But the reality is a lot of times we're simply buying the same product, and this is what happens. Notice we can go right out through here and we can see where when our incomes increased, we were purchasing 310 items at $300. Now we're able to purchase 450 items at the exact same $300. That's how a shift in demand works. That has to do with income. We have substitute goods, excuse me, we have complementary goods. And so when we look at these, we're provided with a number of reasons as to why demand can shift out to the right. So let's take hot dogs and hamburgers, for example, and hot dog buns and hamburger buns. If the price of hot dogs goes up, people buy less hot dogs. That in turn could lead them to buy more hamburgers. Well, if that's the case, then this is where we see this shift in demand. The other thing is, if we see an increase in the number of people buying hamburgers, if the demand for hamburgers increases, that also increases the demand for hamburger buns. So if this was the market for hamburger buns, then we see why it's shifting out here to the right. Now, what about things that cause it to shift to the left? Because you'll notice when we go, we're looking at both positive and negative effects. So here is D3. And I've got the arrow here in red that it's fallen. So what makes D3 fall? Well, obviously, if the income of consumers were to fall, we would see demand fall. Here's the key principle in demand, and with it changing. Really, really, really important. This blue line right here. That blue line is really important. When a shift in demand occurs, the price does not change. It's reflected there in that blue line. So when the price of a good stays the same, we see it here, the price of the good stays the same, but the quantity or the demand curve shifts to the left or right. That's what we're looking at with the shift in demand. So quantity demanded, a change in quantity demanded is based on a movement along the line, whereas a shift in demand is based on the line itself moving to the left or right, but the price remaining the same, but the quantity, the demand here you see going down. We want more of it. So hopefully that helps y'all.